when Mark Ashton asked me to be on the trustee, the foundation, I was gobsmacked, to be honest, because I didn't expect him to ask me, because you never heard of it. So for me, when he's asking me to go in for a meeting, I'm just like, what have I done? I'm leaving the club. Does he not want me here anymore? But it was so good.
Hello and welcome to a Prematch Show special. Welcome back to the podcast. Ipswich Town striker, the GOAT, the Queen of the AGL. There's so many different chants for you now. Natasha Thomas, welcome back. How you doing?
Hi, I'm really good, thank you. It's been a long day at work, but it's great to be speaking to yourself right now. So it's been a good day.
Appreciate that. Well, yeah, and it's kind of a good insight as well, because I guess a lot of Town fans maybe don't know too much about the players and the team, but you've got a job, like a lot of the squad, most of the squad, I imagine. Yeah, you've got a job, and it's a tough time for you because you're basically, aren't you like an instructor and stuff like that? So physical all the time, right?
So I've moved from there now. So I actually work for Praxis 42. So I'm going to be an account manager there.
Okay.
So it's in Hadley, so it's a lot closer to training. So to be honest, they've been really good themselves, and they've helped me. So I can I'll be working at home 2 days a week, so that's why I'm home today. And then when I've got training, I'll be in Hadley, so then it's only a half an hour drive rather than an hour to training. And recently that has really helped, because sometimes you can finish work, then I've got to drive an hour or so to training, but now at the moment I'm not having to drive so far, so then at the moment I feel more focused at training, and it really has helped me.
Brilliant stuff, because I think a lot of us know previously you did PT stuff, didn't you? So I just imagine like 24/7, it's just physical, just fitness and gym and working out and, all that kind of stuff, cardio. So you kind of never ends, but it sounds like a little bit of a difference now and allows you to focus as well. So we'll talk about the season to date. And we'll talk about how things are kind of changing on and off the field for you and the girls, because it feels like the team has kind of never had as much attention as it does now. So we'll talk about that. And obviously a double header with Portsmouth coming up. We definitely want to delve into that. But just sum up the kind of your impressions of the season so far. Obviously, from a personal perspective, just unbelievable goal scoring form, already outscored all of last season. And maybe ups and downs the last few weeks with some of the results. But how are you feeling about things both kind of personally and collectively at the moment?
Yeah, I think ultimately that's football. It's all well and good when everything's going well, and I think it shows the character of the team, the girls, and the club itself, that we just keep on going no matter what. I mean, obviously we've had a bit of a blip at the moment, but again, you have that in seasons, and it's just how you come back from that. So for us, I think yes, we did have a couple of losses on the trot, but it's one of those that it's not going to affect our next performance. We're still going to try, we're still going to push. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, you never know what happens in the league. You never know what happens in the cups. So obviously, we're still in the League Cup at the moment, which, like you said, we will be against Portsmouth. And then obviously the week after, we've got them in the league. And again, it's just two big games. And Ipswich Town, we love the big games. And I think that's the biggest thing that we can take from that. We love the big games, and we always perform. So I think for us, it's just ensuring that we do still perform in the big games and make sure that we can get ourselves into the next round of the cup, and then as well as getting 3 more points onto the board. And ultimately, I think for us as a team, we just know that we have to take each game as it comes. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what the other scores are going to come in. But then at the end of the day, we just need to concentrate on us. And I think that's what we're doing.
And there's lots of weird parallels with the men's team, because the men's team have had a little bit of an issue with wins and then turn it around against Sunderland. And then the next day, you guys beat London Bees. So lots of parallels there with the kind of draws and maybe, the odd loss here or there. But in terms of the form and stuff like that, just personally, am I right? Is it 19 goals in 17 appearances in all comps, 14 in the league? Which is, and was it 8 last season in the league as well? So you're smashing that record. Yeah. And obviously, and I got to ask you about this, but we don't want to focus on it too much. You got some major milestones also that are coming closer and closer and closer. So talk personally about your kind of season so far and that kind of mindset around those big targets.
It's been great. So obviously we'll go back to last season. Towards the end of last season, it was tough for me because I wasn't I wasn't starting when I usually would. So I think for me, in that instance, it's built me even more the character that I am now today. So yes, I was dropped, but at the same time before that, I was playing well. So it just shows that football can be cutthroat, but at the same time, it's what's made me that I am today. Because I think to myself, if that didn't happen last season, where would I be right now? I don't think I'd have looked back and be like, wow, I'm going to score 19 goals in 17 games. I don't look at that in itself as well at the same time, because I just want to make sure each game that I'm putting in as much as I can, whether I score, whether I assist. For me, I think that's the biggest thing that I've taken into my game is, yes, I'm a striker and a lot of things do depend on whether I score. But for me, I've made sure it doesn't affect my performance. So if I don't score, it's not, oh my goodness, next game I need to score, or I think I'm going to be on the bench, or it's going to determine how well I play. So I think for me, it's just making sure that each game I take it as it comes and don't look back that I didn't score the past 2-3 games, I think it was, because there was other things I wanted to work on too. So, but it was great to score again, obviously, Sunday just gone. But for me, I think it's just, I'm happy where I am at the moment. I'm enjoying my football. I'm enjoying everything about the club. And I think that's what's helping me and pushing me on, really.
Yeah, and that kind of spirit that you talked about, that attitude, energy. Billericay away was a really kind of tough day, a game that ebbed and flowed in different ways. And, you're popping up right at the end, but you're busting a gut to get on the end of that cross, aren't you, to get a point out of that game when it might have been none. And, that's the attitude that Town fans come to know from you, Tash, isn't it? And it's great to see that throughout the rest of the season. You talked about the new faces. It's a team that's changed a lot. We've even 3 new faces in the last couple of weeks. It kind of feels from outside, and we spoke to Joe about this, it's maybe the best it's been in a long old time. But talk about these new signings, new faces, and how you kind of get them on board.
Yeah, like I said earlier, it's just great to be playing for the club at the moment. The atmosphere itself, with the players on and off the pitch, which is really good, because sometimes that can be a massive factor and a massive key on the success of the season. So it's really good and really nice to be around it all. Everyone wants to work so hard for each other, not only for themselves. And I think it's one of those things, if you're wanting to work for others, not just yourself, then I think that it's one of those keys which is going to help us this season and help us in the hard times like it has so far. But yeah, like you say, all these new players coming in and the youth that are coming through as well, it's phenomenal. And it's crazy how confident they are, but at the same time, it's good. And I believe we're seeing this confidence because the way we allow players to feel comfortable. So the players that are already here, we always make sure if there's new players coming in, we'll always ensure that we're speaking to them, making sure they feel comfortable, they know where to go. And I think that shows, and it shows that the likes of Lena, Ruby, Millie and everyone else that we've had so far, that they feel comfortable and they know they can say what they need to, if even of their age, and that they're on loan or they're on a dual signing, they know that their input and what they're thinking as well will credit us and help us as well. So for me, it's personally, I'll always just make sure that I can make sure people feel comfortable, because it's probably the worst thing coming to a new club and feeling daunted. So we as Ipswich Town always make sure that we can make players feel as comfortable as possible.
And one of our subscribers, Paul, kind of asked the question. We've got a few dual registrations, a few loans, but from Arsenal and from Tottenham, and obviously Maisie's coming from West Ham. There's a lot of potential on-field rivalries there. Has that come across? Have you had to kind of mediate anything, or is everyone getting on fine at Ipswich?
No, everyone is getting on really well. Obviously, there's banter flying around and things like that, but I think that's what makes training really good as well, because not just the banter that we have, I think we always just try and train to our highest ability. And if we have an off day, we just try to push each other on. And don't get me wrong, some days you're not going to train very well, and it's just making sure you're putting your 100% in. And the girls do that, whether they've come from Spurs on loan or from Arsenal on loan or dual signing. they're always just making sure that they're here and they're zoned into Ipswich Town and not the other clubs that they've been with.
Yeah, you can definitely see that as well. You kind of, you don't feel like they're kind of not our players kind of thing from the side of the pitch. Talk to us about the kind of growth of the club as well. You kind of mentioned how things are kind of moving forward. The appointment of the general manager, Rachel, the last few weeks as well. Kind of as players, I guess you want to see that the club is making the right moves on and off the field. And talk to us about how that's giving you confidence and your kind of hope for what Rachel might bring to the club.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think for Rachel, it's amazing to have her on board. And I think it's one of those steps that we're going to need for the future. So to have that now and embed her in what we're trying to do and the links that we have, as well as her, I think it's going to help us so much now, let alone in the future. I've personally had a good few chats with her as well, and she always makes sure she says hello, whether you're walking past her or she's in the canteen. So it's just great because you think, oh no, we've got a general manager, what is it going to be like? But for us, you can see the little changes already, and she's not even been here that long. And she'll always ask us as well what we think about things, or Joe will as well. So it makes you feel even more included, let alone feeling so included already. But for me, I think having Rachel is that next step for the women's side of the game. And I think that is going to show within weeks and months to come.
Yeah, and it gives Joe a little bit of bandwidth to think about stuff as well, because obviously he was doing lots of stuff off the field as well. The hope, I guess, as a season ticket holder, as a fan, is that the promotion of the men's team into the championship and hopefully even higher just increases the budget and the resources the men have. Obviously, as a club, we're integrated. Are you getting any benefit from that in terms of analytics or access to additional people that maybe you haven't had before?
I mean, I think we've always had that. I think there's always been a crossover. And that's why when people say Ipswich is not just for the men, it is for the women. And that is the case. I mean, we always cross over at the training ground. I mean, the physios have been helping us prior and to now as well. Also, when you go into the canteen and the men's coaches are there, you can generally ask them a question and they'll happily speak to you and give you some information on board as well. I mean, even so obviously we have Tricks in as well, and he comes and helps with forward units and things like that. So that helps Joe as well, obviously, so he can then concentrate on other units. And then it just makes it easier for players to understand the rotation and how we want to play. But I think for me, it's not what's happened recently. It's been happening all along, and it's just happening a lot more now, which is good to see. And we just need a little bit more support here and there, but it's coming all the time. So it's not something that as a team and as a collective, we're always asking for things, because we don't need to ask for it, because the club itself is always and already supporting us.
That's great to hear. And again, personally for you, a massive role in the foundation, now a star of Town TV as well. You've got your own dish on the Greyhound menu as well. So, is it great that the women's team Boz has obviously been involved in Town TV as well? And it's great to see that the club is, fully integrated in terms of the media as well, but the foundation, the coverage as well. That must mean a lot too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think I've spoken about it before, when Mark Ashton asked me to be on the trustee, the foundation, I was gobsmacked, to be honest, because I didn't expect him to ask me, because you never heard of it. So for me, when he's asking me to go in for a meeting, I'm just like, what have I done?
Uh-oh.
Am I leaving the club? Does he not want me here anymore? But it was so good. Like the leads and the connections that we've got throughout the whole club, myself, Joe, the players, with those people higher up in the club, you just don't see that elsewhere. And I think that's what makes Ipswich Town what it is. But yeah, with the Town TV things, which is really good, it's really exciting to be a part of as well. Like you say, Maria's included. I think they're going to try to get a few more girls on there as well. So it just helps the women's side of things as well. I know obviously a lot of people might say it's just for the men, but here and there, I think Ipswich know that it's diverse, and you can see that in what they're trying to do and what we are doing at the moment. So it's really exciting, and I'm really honoured to be involved with it all, to be honest. And I think I'm still shell-shocked that I still get asked to do all this and they want me to be involved with it, because when people come up to me and go, oh, Natasha, I saw you on Town TV, and all the comments that you get, it's just amazing. Because for me, when I first went on there, I was a bit daunted, because I was like, oh, what are people going to think? A female commenting on the men's doing punditry on the men's football, but it was nothing like that. And that in itself is why I love Ipswich Town so much.
Yeah, and it's great to give those opportunities to players across the squad as well. But yeah, we know that well, we can hear it, how great you are, answering my question, my dumb questions, but being able to speak about it from a player's perspective doesn't really change a huge amount. And a really interesting thought from one of the guys in our subscriber group as well about your assessment of the game. I kind of think of you maybe in the George Hurst mold in terms of the men's team, if we're trying to equate your style of play, because you mentioned it's not just about the goals, it's about what else you bring to the team as well. Is that something that you see? Is there someone that you model your game on, or is it, as you said before, kind of focusing on what you do?
I think the way we play as the women's team does replicate that in the men's team. And I feel, say, 2 seasons ago, Jo was working with me on my hold-up play and things like that, because unfortunately I hadn't been through RTC or anything like that. So I hadn't really been coached before. So Jo has brought that to my game, and I think that has developed a lot over the past few seasons. So I think that's where I do see a little bit more of my hold-up play, exactly a little bit like what Hurst does as well. And I think for me, because I've got pace as well, I just try to make sure I use all my attributes to try and help the team be successful, really. But I think as a club, we just try to show the Ipswich Town identity. And I think if we carry on what we're doing, it's just going to click even more, especially with such a young, diverse bunch of girls that we've got now already. And they're learning so quickly and understanding what Jo's throwing at us each week, and they're understanding it. And if we don't, we'll just make sure that we question it, and then we'll do some IDP at the end of the training session and make sure we understand it before the Sunday.
Yeah, and that gives you the insight to be able to do the kind of Lights of Town TV, because there's a lot of crossover with the start. You look at Summer, to me, is playing a very similar role to Leif Davis on the left, isn't she? And and that gives you the insight, as well as having played nearly 200 games as a footballer as well. It's great to see. Before we move away from the Greyhound too quickly, you do have a dish on the menu, isn't it? Is it a mac and cheese thing that you've got on the menu? Have you had it?
It is, yeah. I'm still yet to go and try it, to be honest. The Greyhound themselves are very supportive of the women's side of football as well, which is really nice to see.
Yeah, Dan does a great job there. And quick fire question: if we're at the bar and we're getting you a drink, what are you having? No, don't say mineral water.
It would be a lemonade if it was a soft drink.
Oh, professional! Come on, you can. Yeah, well, you're allowed. It's the off season. You're allowed. No, I'm not going to push you. I'm not going to force alcohol.
If I was on holiday on the off season, it would be gin and lemonade.
There you go. So we all know now, if we see Tasha at the Greyhound, it's a mac and cheese. And what was it? A gin and tonic? Did you say?
Gin and lemonade.
Gin and lemonade. There you go. Sorted. Yeah. Let's talk about kind of the AGL and the games to come. We've spoken to Jo about the importance of the fan base. So the gates keep growing. As to use your word, the fan base is really diverse as well. You've got young kids. You've got grizzly old people like me making a lot of noise, but it seems like everyone is there and the numbers keep getting bigger and bigger. Big games against Portsmouth obviously coming up, as you mentioned. Really intriguing situation. Obviously they've lost Beth Lumsden, who's their leading scorer, but a lot of quality in that team anyway. How important is the AGL being that 12th player for you? So
important, and I think it's good to highlight that they have been our 12th player. And I think a highlight for me is the Charlton game when it was like the fans knew that we needed them and they were chanting our names, every single player on the pitch. And that really did help us. And I think you could probably see that within the second half of how we played and how we didn't let go, let alone we were 3-1 down, should I say. But yeah, even away games, I mean, obviously the London Bees game, there's about 400 fans, and it wouldn't surprise me that about 360 of them were our fans. And we just want to make sure that everyone feels comfortable to be there and support us. For us, I think it's just come down, and hopefully then we can give them something that they want to watch, and they'll see the transition from the men's to the women's side and how we try to always play the Ipswich style of football. Yeah, spot on. And Portsmouth, a team we've got a lot of recent history with, a really tough opposition. Are you looking forward to it? You must be. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you said, they are a very, very good side, but we're a very good side also. So we just need to make sure that we take the tactics that Jo gives us and put that onto the pitch and just don't stop till the final whistle, because ultimately if it's 0-0 in the 90th minute and we score or winner or whatnot, we just need to make sure we're focused and keep switched on no matter what the score is, because the game can change in so many ways. It can toss and turn onto us or onto them. But I think for us, it's a big game. There's no hiding from it. There's 2 big games on the trot at home, which we'd love to get so many people down there behind us, and we can show them that we should be playing at a higher standard, and we'll be showing them against a very good side in the Tier 3.
Yeah, and we spoke to Joe about this, and I've heard Boz sort of say similar as well. It might be a better game for us than the likes of Oxford and Billericay, because it's a team that will want to play. You know, as Joe mentioned, teams seem to raise their game against us, but they sit in low block. Portsmouth aren't going to do that. Might give us an opportunity of a result? Yeah,
absolutely. I think for us, we just want to play football. And I think some Tier 3 sides, it's just how they play and how they attack the games is they, like you say, a low block and then counter-attack. And again, maybe it's worked for some teams and maybe it doesn't. But I think for us, we'll always play our football no matter who we're playing. And we'll ensure that we can try and put our taste onto the game and get the win, because ultimately that's what we want.
Yeah, spot on. Tash, thank you so much for speaking with us and giving your time. We wish you and the girls all the best for the games coming up, and obviously for the rest of the season as well. And you now know what to get Tash if you see it at the Greyhound. We're sorted there. Thank you very much for speaking to us.
Thanks for having me. Take care.